19 communities, about 1,000 units in Sacramento and Yolo counties. About half our board is made up of our residents, so they help push us to build sustainably and operate sustainably. So many of our communities have community gardens. We're pushing to go smoke-free in many of them. Our first solar installation was in 2002, about 15 years ago. And that was the first in the Sacramento area that had solar that credited the residents of apartment complexes. And since then, we've been doing a lot more innovative projects, and including our mutual housing Spring Lake community, which was designed to be zero net energy.
If you go to the next slide. Mutual housing at Spring Lake, a little history about this development. It's located in the city of Woodland. It's actually located in South Woodland, where there's this new Spring Lake subdivision, where we've got $500,000 homes there. And there was this particular parcel that was at risk of losing its high-density zoning. And so at the time, the subdivision developer was saying that nobody was interested in developing multifamily on this parcel. But because the city of Woodland has really good inclusionary housing policies, and the fact that we have really good connections with legal services in Northern California in the area, who was closely looking at this parcel, they were able to inform us and let us know, this parcel's at risk, would you be interested in developing it? So we immediately reached out to the city, and we started talking about their affordable housing needs, and sure enough, they had them, like any other city in this state, in this country. And so we started looking and doing some research on what type of affordable housing needs that they have there. Now, the city of Woodland is not considered rural. It is a population over 50,000, but there is a strong agricultural economy there. So we've got tons of farm workers living in the area, a lot of them living in overcrowded conditions. And so there was a really strong need for affordable housing specifically for farm workers. So we started doing our own little research and outreach out there. And we met with farm workers in the area at their local churches and at growers' locations. And we did a little survey with them, and we asked them, what are your priorities? What is the one thing that's so important to you when it comes to housing? Of course, their number one priority was low rent, but obviously it had to be something that they could afford. And when we're talking about farm workers, these are the lowest earning income people in our state. And I know this personally because I was a farm worker. And so it's tough. I mean, my family, we were a family of 5 earning $12,000 a year. We lived in a shack, literally. So to me, this is really personal because I knew the importance. I actually grew up in this community. It's located in Yolo County, and I grew up in Yolo County. And so I knew the importance, and I really wanted to be part of this, and I was privileged enough to be the project manager that oversaw this. But going back to the survey results, the second priority that we discovered was they wanted low utility bills. So that was the one place that we said, okay, this is something that we can actually do and make a change and be able to provide that to our residents. And the one solution, of course, was pursuing zero net energy. So thankfully, with the help of meeting up with Redwood Energy and the team, and then also with the support of other funding sources that are made available to us, specifically for farm workers, we were able to put everything together to develop mutual housing at Spring Lake. Now, of course, there was challenges along the way. Some have already been mentioned throughout the retreat, but one in particular was, of course, coordination with the design team, especially with the builder. This was something new to them. They're so used to their way of developing affordable housing or any kind of housing in general. So there was a clash there, but we had to stand our ground, and we really, Sean, you can remember those conversations where we were back and forth, and it always came up, this is going to cost more, this is going to cost more. But in the end, we were able to get them to get on board with us and really share our vision for this community. Another thing to note, of course, this is an all-electric, as it was mentioned before, I believe, during Greg's presentation. It is an all-electric community. It consists of 62 apartment flats and townhomes. They range between 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom apartments, so we do have very generous sized apartments on this site. And we have a large 2,500 square feet community center, and we have community gardens sprinkled around, so it's not a centralized community garden. In the end, we were able to achieve several certifications. We were the first multifamily rental community to receive the Department of Energy Zero Energy Ready Homes certification. Thank you. And of course, along with that, we also get the Energy Star certification. We also received LEED Platinum. That was something new to us. We're actually we're a go-to to build a green and Greenpoint rated. We do all of our new construction and our retrofits using that guide. But in the end, USDA really wanted us to pursue LEED, and so we did LEED, and we were able to achieve LEED Platinum on that. And we still went with Build It Green, even though we really didn't have to. But like I said, that's our staple. So we went ahead and we participated in their was it a pilot program, I guess, for ZNE Greenpoint rated certification. And then we also applied for the Innovation Homes Award through the Department of Energy, and thankfully we were awarded that as well. So we're very proud of this development, not only because of those various achievements, but of course the main point is that it's serving as a model for more developments like this, specifically those types of developments that are serving those people that are in huge need for housing. So if we go to the next page, just to touch a little bit about the features that we ended up doing at this property. Of course, we went through the three main focuses when you do ZNE. You focus on the building, right, making it as energy efficient as possible. Then you look into the systems and all of the different packages that you install there. So you can see images here of the hydronic heat pump heating, cooling, and hot water heating system that we use, the Daikin Altherma. We did quality insulation installation, and that's a nice little image that our HERS rater was able to take during the inspections. We introduced the evolved shower head, something so simple, and we do it everywhere now. And we always have tours on site because people are just so intrigued in the area to come and see, especially the CEC comes all the time. They've gone to like 10 different tours already, sending their staff. But simple feature like that is something they weren't aware of, and they're totally shocked about it. And
everyone knows about the shower heads.
Last summer, the the Evolved Shower Head folks actually came and presented, and that was Troy. I remember, kind of hunky-looking guy, blue eyes.
Yeah.
It basically shuts the water off when it gets to a hot temperature. So in case you turn it on to take a shower in the morning and then run around the house waiting for it to heat up, it just shuts it off. And then when you come back and ready to take a shower, you just pull the cord. So it saves water, but also saves the electricity used to heat the water.
Yep.
On average, after your water's hot, people still don't get into the water for a full 60 seconds, a whole minute.
Who does that? Who runs away?
Everybody.
I do.
No, I don't. But there are some that run away.
It's like a shame thing. So it saves 1/8 of the hot water that a shower would normally use. 1 minute is, if you take an average 8-minute shower, 7.8 to 8.2 minutes on average, and 1 minute is the average, so it's an eighth of the shower.
Yeah. And of course, Energy Star appliances, and then that cute little light to the bottom right. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, the Nexi monitors, or aka Canary monitors, those are the hot things. I was just telling Josh, is it? Josiah, that every time we have these tours, everybody's always like, oh my God, those things are so cool. Where can I get them? What, where did you buy them from? They are definitely the eye candy for the property, but they are one of the most unique features that we have there for the residents.
Josiah is one of the main inventors.
That's what he was telling me. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. So yes, hands down to you. The fact that we were able to actually include a tool for the tenants was great. So now we did everything. We built this great property. We did this great design. We're ready to go. So we start moving into operations. And Bryan's going to talk about our performance.
So you can go to slide 4. So this is the model, the energy model. So showing the expected usage for the 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms. You see the hot water, plug loads, and cooking are the big predicted usage. Go to the next slide. And so we put as much energy efficiency equipment in there and PV that we could afford, and more. But then our residents, 62 residents moved in, and they brought in not so energy efficient systems. One had these 2 coolers. I think I showed this last year. These you'd find at a convenience store, and it gets hot in Woodland, but so it's great when you go visit this unit. They'll offer you these cold drinks, but a ton of electricity they're sucking out of that thing. Extra freezers and refrigerators. This old couple has this freezer. It's like, this has one of these tables. It's a two elderly couple. I don't know how much food they eat, but you can't. I couldn't eat that much. TVs, electronics, and so on and so on. So, next slide, 6. So this is actual production of 2016. We've been open about a little over 2 years. first year, if you were here last year, I explained the challenges we had with the hot water heaters, where the thermometers weren't reading them correctly, so they were running continuously. So that's all been fixed, and so we've taken a year full of energy consumption data, and we're about 20% over what we thought. So that column on the right, the total, the blue line is our expected kilowatt hours in consumption and solar production. The green bar is the solar production. So we're right about what we expected for solar production. And then the gray line is energy consumption. And so you can see on the residential units and the common areas, we're a little over about 20% on our expected. So why? The common areas, so that's all the site lighting, the community room, and the laundry room. We think we've narrowed it down to the laundry room, particularly the dryers, and they're doing more loads of laundry than we thought they would, than that's in the model. And they're farm workers, they get very dirty.
Yes, so keep in mind, that's one of the things we have to consider when we're doing this modeling, right? Because these are farm workers, so these people are working in harsh conditions with pesticides, you name it. So of course, they're going to be washing constantly in your average American household.
And the residential units were about 20% over too. So if you go to slide 7, we've got a chart showing all the 62 units. So the ones on the left, about the dozen on the left, were net negative. So they used less electricity than they were given in solar credits. Yeah.
Can they get their clothes cleaned in cold water? They have to use hot?
Well, the heating of the water is a small load. The drying of the wet laundry is a huge load. It's like 7 or 8 times as much energy, or even more.
That's a whole other discussion. We'll get there at the discussion.
We'll get there, yeah.
Okay. I mean, so it's a virtual net metered system. So all the PV that gets produced gets sent back to the grid, and then each unit gets an allocation. Like the 1 beds get a little less than 1% of whatever's produced, and the 2 beds 1%, the 3 beds a little bit more. So about a dozen people were net negative. Then there's a handful that were kind of a little bit more, use a little bit more than they were given in solar credits, and then there was 5 or so that use a ridiculous amount of electricity. And one has a electric wheelchair that plugs in. Another, those pictures I showed, some extra refrigerators, freezers, plug loads, all of that. The other one, anyone want to guess what that line through the roof is? Whose unit or what's going on in that unit?
It's me.
If you don't know.
They're growing.
What's that?
They're growing?
They're growing.
No.
Just farming.
That's the property manager's unit. And the property pays for their electricity, so they're not paying their bill. It's a family of 5. She's told me, they take 2 showers a day, 2 long showers a day. The baby takes 2 baths a day. And that was their cooler out on their patio. I had them unplug that very quickly.
Yeah, we put the brakes on that.
Yeah, so that's a big challenge. But there's the chart. It's a little frustrating. Like our goal, we didn't meet our goal, but now we kind of framed the the picture.
Greg? Greg Botenhauer. When you looked at all of our other ones, we found that our margin of error, we've seen in between 86% below to
for the other projects?
Yeah, for all those other ones, what's our margin of
Pretty
accuracy?
close to 10% of ZNE. But yeah, this was the only one, and a lot of this had to do with some of the problems in terms of the first year. But
With the hot water heater. Yeah, but this is after. This is
Yes,
pretty
is
much
data
after
after
that.
Yeah, after
Yeah.
the fixes.
One other thing to note is those residents in the middle, it's starting to go up the curve. They're paying about $20 a month on average for total utility cost. It's all electric, but that's their total utility bill. The ones a little further are about $30 a month. And then the other ones are quite a bit higher, but I would love to have a $30 utility bill. So it's pretty darn good. It's not 0 or 10, which would be the baseline, but it's really good.
So, I mean, this kind of touches on the subject that you can build it, you can have it there, but it really opened up our eyes on how important tenant education is and how much we really have to educate the residents and let them know, you can't be taking 2 showers a day, if not, it's going to cost you. And so, we do try to incorporate different trainings and educational material for them, but there's still aspects that we have to dig deeper in to see, what are some of the residents that are performing, what are they doing, and how can we have them teach the others on how to change their habits and whatnot. So slide 8 is actually rendering of phase 2. Now phase 1, this property is located on a 5-acre parcel, and when we decided to develop this property, it was intended to be 101 units at the beginning. But for those of you who are familiar with affordable housing financing and funding and what it's like nowadays, it's very tough. We use low-income housing tax credits, but they are so competitive that in our region, usually only one project gets funded. And even then, there's very limited amount of tax credits available. And so at the time that we decided to apply for phase 1, we were awarded, but there wasn't enough tax credits to fully fund the full 101 units. So we essentially had to cut the project down to 62 and hope that funding will come around for phase 2. For phase 1.
Who provides the permanent financing? Is it USDA 514?
Well, it is a debt service loan, but it's at a low rate. It's only at 1%. But we do have conventional bank that provides the financing as well for a mortgage. So this phase 1 actually did involve USDA, both Section 514, which is specifically for farm workers, capital funds, and then also Section 521 rental assistance, which is very important. We also had state money involved, the HCD, or Department of Housing and Community Development, Chosen Junior Farm Worker Housing Grant Program, really long acronym. We had about $1 million from that, but that program is no longer available. There isn't any funds, so for phase 2, not available. We also received about a little under $1 million from the city of Woodland, which was great as well.
Is that home funds?
No, it wasn't home funds. They actually have an affordable housing trust fund there, and so we were able to tap into that, and the rest was through a conventional loan. So we did have a multiple of layers in funding this type of development, so there is some complexity in that aspect. But definitely USDA was a key player in really supporting this type of development, ZNE development, and also really making the project feasible for us to develop overall. So back to phase 2, here we are again, a couple years later. We've developed phase 1. We recently applied last year we applied for USDA money again for phase 2. We were able to get awarded, and we just applied for tax credits this second round. There's usually 2 rounds a year, and we're hoping that we'll get awarded. And so we're hoping to get results in September, but so far from the preliminary information they've been giving out, it's looking good. So we want to start getting the team together and really all of us start thinking about the second phase, because the second phase is actually, we want to replicate and do the same thing that we did with phase 1, because it's going to be all in one community. There's going to be shared access to the community building and all of the other common spaces. But we actually want to take it a step further. Given what we've learned from phase 1, we want to do something a little bit more aggressive. And so definitely we're going to still pursue DOE, the Zero Energy Ready Homes program. We're going to do LEED Platinum again. We're going to try to meet Cal Green Tier 2. And then also we want to approach this with a positive energy design mentality.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Wouldn't that mean then that you meet Cal Green Tier 3?
I don't know. Would that?
Yes.
I think so, right? Yeah.
I think so.
So if we go to the next slide, slide 10, we're actually a little bit more down to the details on the positive energy approach. We want to offset about 105% of the whole project consumption, with 5% of it being stored off the grid. So thanks to the dream team over there that's looking into the thermal storage capacity, we're looking at that as a possibility to be able to meet that. If you go to the next slide, there are a few other areas that, again, from what we've learned in phase 1, we really need to start thinking about as well. Obviously, there isn't only one solution, and so we want to take the time now to really ask all of you, the experts, on what are other solutions that we can take into account as we embark in this journey of positive energy design. So some of the main questions that we have is, how can we increase the energy efficiency even more on our buildings? The big one, reducing plug loads. Bryan was able to identify that problem. Is the solution more solar panels?
Well, that's her brute force way of doing it.
Is it not?
I mean, there are some things like smart power strips They can be used.
Yeah.
And they can shut things off when things are below a certain power drop. They can be reduced. The heat pump water heaters are more efficient than they were 4 or 5 years ago. So
if we're launching into our
discussion,
Yeah,
that is it. So, and then of course resident
help us.
education tools. You know, the Nexus or Canary Instrument models were
If
great.
people are buying TVs or things like that, I wonder if you can work with them to identify ones that are more energy efficient than the other ones. Or
In fact, there's a HUD program for aggregate buying.
we're taking notes, just two note takers. So
Who's
just
taking notes?
speak up. They're taking notes to deliver back. Thank you.
I'm just saying that there's a HUD program for aggregate buying, so, mutual housing would get together with others who need to, do something and buy the TVs for people.
And I don't know what
Cash
they did.
for clunkers.
What about the common laundries? Did they didn't do heat pump clothes dryers?
Nope, not
What
yet.
about high-speed steam washers?
We have Speed Clean Energy Star dryers in there that get up to about 800 RPM, but like the 1,000 to 1,500 RPM are seem to be only available in residential models.
What this laundry folks have told me is that there's the front loaders. Wait, the front loaders and top loaders, that's the washing. But the drying, they're all front loaded. There's really only two tiers. There's the older inefficient models and the newer models. And within the newer models, there's no new technology. They're all within a tight range of efficiency.
Heat pump clothes dryers use about 40% of the electricity of a standard electric resistance dryer.
Do they dry in the same amount of time?
No, they take 2 hours.
Which,
Well, except for high-speed spin washers.
Yeah.
if you get them dry in the after
Gotta
the
make
wash.
them quick instead of dry.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the mercy of the laundry vendor.
But that would be your biggest opportunity for. So
The common area.
what you want is the highest speed spin washers you can, so you have the least amount of water to remove from the laundry, and so the longer time.
Yeah.
The time will be shortened if there's a lot less water to remove from the washers spinning at high speed.
The AC sear that I saw on slide 3 was 13.
Yep.
On phase 1.
The reason for that is that this is a hydronic system, and water. I'm sorry, Dan. Water doesn't accept heat very well. Like you can raise it up to. It has a 11 HSPF, which is a very high heating seasonal performance factor, but the air conditioner is just terrible for relative, and it's because it's water. If we were using refrigerant absorbs heat much better, faster.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little more the 105% plus 5%? Because at first I was thinking, aren't you, by over-generating by 5%, aren't you just donating that to the electric grid at cost to yourself? But if you're storing that 5, so you can take that 5 and bank it, and then you match the rest of it?
Right.
Is that the concept?
That's the concept, yeah.
Okay.
That we would store that extra 5% that we're generating off grid, so
you
we're not feeding it back.
over-generate it, put it in your pocket, and then net meter out the rest of it.
Right.
So, but are you adjusting your modeling to reflect the realities of operations that you discovered, or are you just using the same modeling assumptions and going 105% of that?
That's a big moral dilemma.
Well, there's nothing moral about the model.
Well, in phase 1, the model is what a conservative household would use, right? And
That's
so
somebody's idea of what a conservative household would use.
I don't
Yes.
even think the model is about conservative.
Yeah.
Well, the policy is about conservative. The HUAC, the language in the HUD guide says we're supposed to be estimating the consumption of a reasonably conservative household at modest means. So the utility allowance national policy is supposed to sort of push the consumption down a little bit because it's supposed to be reasonably conservative. In the end, I was always looking for accurate, just 100% nail it accurate, and that would be better.
Yeah.
But we've talked about adding solar to phase 1, additional solar. It's more than the 209 kilowatts we've got on there now. But I struggle with it because we're incentivizing the residents to use more electricity. But
what's the problem with that? I mean, if you're generating on site, really, what's the problem?
Yeah, I guess the
because they're using it in really funky ways, like huge freezers and 20,000 televisions.
Well, and a fascinating thing. So Michael and I got to work on a project all electric in Florida that had electric resistance tanks, And the Florida Solar Energy Center, who has their own set of algorithms that are nationally accepted by ResNet, one of the sub-algorithms was just for TVs. And we were able to cost-effectively install 2 TVs per apartment based upon the energy savings. And so they have 50 kilowatt hours per year. These just amazingly tiny load, huge full-screen TVs, 2 of them per low-income senior apartment. And it was cost-effective. The TVs are more than paid for by the increase in rent/reduced utility allowance.
A lot of these are between old plasma, which California's Title 20 effectively made illegal, and versus new LEDs. Like,
yeah,
you know, you see a plasma, they have all these features that they sell.
And if a plasma is using 1,200 kilowatt hours, and a CRT is using 400 to 600, and a kilowatt hours per year, and an LED is at 50 to 100, then maybe you guys are doing this crazy thing of installing permanent TVs once every. When do you replace them, though?
Wow.
Yeah.
You get a free TV.
But back to this point, let's take our conservative energy model that your supercomputers generate, right, and just add 10% to it, and that's our model.
Right.
Is that and then offset with solar?
I mean, there's what you need for compliance under Title 24, and you can't add extra stuff to that.
Well, we could add more solar to it.
You can add more solar to it.
Offset 110% of the model.
You can't show higher consumption in the approved model.
Yeah.
Did you guys model it? There's a few things that you did with discussion with the plug load and the occupancy behavior and education, which you have a ton of opportunity that you haven't probably maxed out on. You can have agreements, you can hand out drying racks, which they're probably not used, but I would use them.
Yeah.
But what about just exterior insulation on the walls? That wasn't in the phase 1. Did you model that out already, maybe, or
exterior insulation? No, I don't think we've looked.
Insulation. And you could also amp up the insulation in the attic.
So that would get the heating and cooling demand lower.
But
right?
notice, that's this graph. That's what you should look at:
okay.
water heating, plug loads, and cooking.
So that was modeled. Did the actual look pretty much the same?
We have some difficulty with our data. No, just Spring Lake. We haven't gone there recently enough to capture the fixes that were made.
Plug load. Yeah, I mean, everyone's different on their plug loads.
So if we were to do
and hot showers.
So water heating, we had an energy factor 2.4, and now we would install at least a 3.4. So we're going to see water heating get shaved off by, is that about a third? From going to a 2.4 to a 3.4?
Excuse me. So you were at one point you said that the big load was these dryers, right?
On the common area. For the common area. Yeah.
So and you're going to hear laughter, but I mean this seriously. What about solar dryers, clotheslines? The way, you know, if people, it seems like if your options are right on the line in Yolo County, or you put it in a heat pump dryer, which is going to take 2 hours, about the same amount of time. Why not just put the suckers out in the sun?
Yeah.
Well, we have a solar dryer. You talk about that way instead of clothesline. It sounds.
We have another property. Yeah, we have another property, our second most recent property in Davis, actually, and we installed clotheslines, but they don't get used very often. So, and it goes back to the tenant education, though. Yeah.
It's not immediately cool.
Yeah. We have to. Yeah, right. We have to make them sexy.
Deborah's asked an interesting question. What have been the results of our education to the residents? And so we've had several over the years, and unfortunately we don't have data for it. But I will share one story we're trying to get stories or interview those residents on the far end of the spectrum and on the other end of the spectrum, and no one's really interested in sitting down with us to go over their bills, even on the high end, to go over the bills and share stories, share their experience. So that's been really surprising and disconcerting.
Private privacy thing?
Privacy thing, or they're busy, they don't care, they got kids, you know.
I did hour-long meetings with some of your residents.
Yeah.
And we gave a $25
gift card.
Yes.
But the results were amazing. I mean, the stories you heard were incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, we're trying. Maybe the 25. Maybe we need to give them.
We need to bump it up a bit more. Yeah.
If you do clotheslines, you should give some thought into the orientation. Like, should the lines go east-west and west-south?
Or should they be trees because those are cooler? Solar trees are cooler.
No, but it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, that's right.
Solar man-line clothing.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to mention too on that. As an architect, I think the architect should dignify the space in which that line drawing is done. You look at house plans from the 60s, even these luxury homes had like a service court where you could dry the laundry without the neighbors seeing it. So that's an aspect of it.
Yeah, it's like the underwear. Like,
Yeah, like yeah.
I'm worried. I line dry and I do it in our courtyard, so my wife's nervous about like underwear hanging out there. That's a big deal.
You make it drier to take for underwear only.
Called a practice dryer.
Amy.
Two things. On the clothesline, I have one, and I have it outside where my kids can play, and they're doing that, and I can hang at the same time. So that multitasking is key. The question, kind of a question for you and for you, Lonnie, in terms of kind of education for the multifamily ZNE project we're working on now. We went through this whole discussion about how we were setting the colors for the canary or for the Nexi. And I'm wondering, just, given you have that technology in place, can you look at how they were set for those colors depending on the budget? And if they don't necessarily want to sit down and have a conversation, is there an opportunity to kind of set the budgets differently to engage those users?
Does everybody know what she's talking about?
So Lonnie, can you give us 2 minutes?
Well, you can talk about it later too.
I can. I'll take this out of that time. There's a display. It's on one of their, maybe the third slide. It has colors that tells the tenants how they're doing with their energy use instantly and daily. It's got 5 colors: green, yellow, orange, red, and a hot purpley red, fuchsia. And we can set those budgets based upon monthly budgets in any way we want. In the most recent project with BIG, we took learnings we got from your tenants and applied those to give them a bigger range of green so they can be happy longer. Because one of the things we learned at your site is the only people who didn't like our device were people who were red all the time.
Yeah.
Even though they were red for a reason.
Yeah. And then what ends up happening is they're like, that thing's always red. I don't even pay attention to it.
Exactly. And so what we did is we took that learning and said, okay, well, let's expand the green so that they can have that dopamine that they want to get back to.
Yeah.
The thing with the hot water is a big user, and it's not easy to make that connection between the length of the shower and how much energy you're using. And so these monitors we put in the kitchen. So you're in the shower, a 20-minute shower, you're not looking at the monitor. The hot water heater may not even kick in when you're in the shower. Have you guys, how do you... So a timer? I mean, there's shower timers.
Well, there's little hourglass timers you can put in the shower. I found those useful.
Hand those out, hand out the French drawing lines, just everybody gets a free timer for your clothesline.
My favorite hot water corrector in the shower was in Central America, where the electric resistance heater was on a timer. But once you're wet, it would kind of electrocute you if you try to.
I don't think I want to electrocute my farmer.
You try to re-up the time. So, you could get more than 10 minutes, but it came at a cost.
Yes.
We designed an energy efficient shower, which it creates an environment where you use less hot water and you can still be comfortable. And you can take a comfortable shower in a cold bathroom, and you don't need any ventilation. You don't have to turn the fan on in the bathroom.
It's an enclosed shower stall. So the moisture doesn't leave and you stay warmer, since a lot of why people get in the showers
it's like its own little room.
It also builds up the humidity. Like, if you have to notice when you're taking a shower, if you put your hand right under the shower head and then put it on the floor, the particles can cool down about 20 degrees. And then if you seal it up and you keep the humidity up, you get a lot less evaporation, and you stay a lot warmer. And you just adjust it for your comfort.
So enclosed showers, it costs more money, but it is our number one energy use.
I think you could build it really cheap.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to talk to me about it later,
Yeah.
I can talk to them.
And?
Yeah, there's another approach too.
No,
which
less
is-
one.
Yeah, again, the
There's
thing
less
about
one
the
because you
droplet
don't put it in
cooling,
moisture.
if you get the shower heads that have adjustable height, they're on a bar, then you can have people
Oh,
adjust the
yeah.
height that's correct for them, and then they don't need to turn the water
Right.
on as hot. As if like, if it's a short person and the shower head's way high,
Yeah.
you're gonna turn that water on a lot hotter.
I take a shower sitting down
So
because
I use
can't
more
stay in my
energy.
shower.
Yeah.
And so I have
Sean
to turn
would.
the water up hotter because I'm farther away because I just can't get underneath the.
Yeah.
My voice is limited.
So what you should have, they have these things, goosenecks, so you can adjust it.
Yeah, I wanted to speak about the education aspect of the canaries, because we installed these for 3 years ago now, and there's tenant turnover and stuff that's happened since then, and I'm not sure if they brought up this week. And I think that these things are really good at kind of educating people almost through osmosis, just by having them there and having a general idea. You wind up learning things about your house and how it behaves and how you affect your energy use in your house. There's a lot of potential to follow up on that education if you can get them to show up. I suggest free food, but I think that there's a lot of opportunity there for you guys to show them how their energy use is affecting their house directly. Showing them, hey, go turn this on, or try this measure. The energy monitor will show you the effect that you're having on your house's energy use.
We got.
Buy a used Leaf, and whoever wins the most green on their energy monitor gets to use it for free for a day. Because then you're getting to the transportation part of it. Have you seen the price on those? They're super cheap.
Chuck and then Ann?
Right. So try co-opting the kids in their schools on how to use the canary, and they will put pressure on parents.
Kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And
So you guys heard about the Energy Strong project in the Netherlands?
we got presented by Lisa. Yes, sir.
Excellent. So one of the aspects of that project that I found very interesting from a sort of policy and definition perspective is that they basically said, look, okay, it's similar to the utility allowance thing, right? It's like, we're gonna calculate, we can achieve zero net energy, and this is, you have an allowance of this much household energy. And so long as that's all we cover your utility bill, you can't necessarily do that, perhaps. But I think you want to be able to adapt that concept with the canary and say, so long as you're in the green, you're meeting the definition of zero net energy, as we've determined, or maybe it starts to edge towards yellow when you're getting close. And the minute you go above, you're red, you're sort of putting the whole project at jeopardy. So maybe there's a way
community
to tie
pressure.
this. Yeah. So kind of a community level responsibility factor.
Doing public listings of those that have gone over budget, social norm type stuff.
No, we know who those people are, but we're not advertising.
They're already struggling being low-income farm workers. It's like, give them a break. It's hard work,
We've talked about this before, Bryan, but the idea of using like a monthly newsletter for residents, I think that if you ever wanted to chat about it, I've done a lot of work on the university on trying to educate and empower students to make a difference and like on their campus, and we've been doing it in affordable housing also, and just like, for real, free food is a huge motivator for anybody to come out to an event after work. It's like, okay, let's just go, like whatever. Or any type of small incentive that you guys can afford to like put out there makes a huge impact. But also monthly letters, just like we've done things that compare your energy use to your neighbor. It doesn't have to be that in depth, but something that is like a monthly reminder that, oh yeah, this is the type of community that we live in, this is what's important to us here, and it's all about saving your energy, and give a tip maybe once a month on, you know, like this is, you know, anything. Start with a water heater, the most important one, and, you know, give an idea of the energy consumption, like just some small little token of education every month. It's not going to be like a packet or, you know, having to go face to face with somebody that you just want to go home. You know, like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
Public
Yeah.
recognition for those that are doing well.
true, yeah.
Lonnie?
So I would have a community meeting just like what you're doing here and ask them to tell you, like, how should we plan the next one? Maybe you've already done that, but like a design shred with the people who know the very most. And there's facilitators that you might be able to get for free in your community to help have, you know, you shouldn't be the facilitator.
Right.
You should be like,
Yeah.
I want to put there, so if water heating is our #1 load, and these people use lots of extra water, I mean even more than we would have modeled because of farm worker population.
Yeah.
Then, and you've already done the evolved shower head, if we go to a high energy factor, 2.4 was the best in the market in that year, but now it's 3.85 is the best in the market. So yeah, big differences. The pipes. So when we studied shower heads, I think anyone else in the room that was there for our long shower head study, it looked like there was 40 seconds of warm up time and about a minute of people not getting into the shower.
Yeah.
And
that warm up time can be
totally variable.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason I was bringing it up is because if we went from 3/4 inch piping like we have here to 1/2 inch piping, just that one change would make take that from 40 seconds down to 20 seconds, or maybe even less, because there's a 50% drop in volume that's in the pipes as you go from 3/4 down to 1/2 inch. So
theoretically, if you get it down to even less than that, less than 10 seconds, you lose that other minute. Because people are not going to wander away.
Yeah.
Well, but they have an evolved shower head, so even if they do. When Troy presented, the way he framed it is said, you know, the structural waste savings are real, but you have to lock them in with something like an evolved to stop it, because people will just keep on walking away, and it'll be a problem. So skinny pipes and a shutoff valve would be.
That's changing somebody's behavior. I'm talking about when you build something, if you make it so that there's less than 10 seconds before you get hot water, people won't learn to walk away, and then you have to change behavior by putting an evolve or something else in it.
And although that's probably true, when we studied that LV&L data, we did not find that to be the case. I mean, this is sad, but there was all sorts of people that had 4-second wait times that then waited for a minute afterwards. And one example was like the shortest wait time had the longest time they didn't get in. So it's just anecdotal, but the data didn't so strongly support it, which is why Troy's point was first design it right and have a lock-in. Just don't let the waste happen, period. Don't wait for people to learn or not learn.
I respected mutual housing before. Hearing how you guys, your board's made up, and hearing how you first approached the project, I had to lean over to listen and say, I'm almost in tears. I mean, this is, you guys are after my heart. This is wonderful. Secondly, you know, there comes a point where you need to quit polishing the top of the pin. And I wonder if the solar is taking care of half of these people's electricity use, then on average they would be about $60 a month. Who here is below $60 a month? Okay, that's way less than half the room. If somebody gets that, they get down to $60 a month, and then you're offsetting half of it to $30 a month. Excuse me, the change, a 5% or even a 10% change in the bill, isn't gonna frickin' matter. You know, that's less than the cost of a hamburger. So, you know, you've done a good thing. Now find out what else you can do to make your lives better.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
But you're committed. Your funding is committed. Like you have to do 105%.
well, design, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they can't hold us to it. What we can they?
Right? Yeah.
So that's the thing.
There's something that's out of our control.
Who would say just let's add more solar to? We've got our model. We know what a conservative household or property should do. Should we just add more solar because we know 10% is going to use more? Who would add more solar?
You compare more efficiency measures versus for PV and see which is less expensive.
Exactly.
But I mean, over-design the solar.
But see, if you do that, and it doesn't cost that much, then, there may be some take back, but so what? The bill is still so freaking low.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
Or I had an idea to make their lives better, so if laundry's a problem, offer them dry clean, or meaning save them time, give them actually a chance to breathe today, and they don't have to deal with their laundry for once. And you can do
Well, we send it off site. Have laundry done
laundry
elsewhere.
off-site.
And we eliminate.
Well, it's the laundry dryer.
Question about potentially disaggregating the plug loads and starting to identify where there's heat sources. It looks like the kilowatts for hot water heating are about equal to the plug loads. In an engineered system, one could liquid cool everything and recover the heat energy off your plug loads and take care of all your hot water heating. Theoretically.
That works for cultivation indoors, but not necessarily in residence.
Well, for a hotel,
captures some.
It absolutely works. If you have a large lighting load, if your washing machine and dryer have waste heat coming off, just like we do with cogen, just like we do with lots of liquid cooled motors to keep them happy and cool. Same thing with LEDs; they're 20% more efficient if you keep them cool. Now you're recovering a bunch of heat energy. The problem is it's not quite 120 degrees. So you need a second tank that you can preheat. And then the water that goes into your water heater is preheated up to some level that takes a load off your water heater. So that would be the concept. And the energy is clearly there. The question is, what appliances are appropriate for that sort of approach?
We're going to keep on talking this way, exactly like this, but we're going to do it now on Steve Glenn's presentation of tiny homes, factory-built tiny homes.
Can we give him applause for it?
Yes.